just got off the phone with Tom Mercado from the Budget Committee. This thing with Favre is screwed up, Hooch.
What? They can't lump us in with that fucking Martian.
We're all in the same boat, fellas.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really. Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
We're still strong. Two-bar towns. Let me take you all on a ride. Roll down your windows. Rolling down the two-lane road. Turn the radio on. I'm hanging low out the window. Tom Petty on. I feel right at home. And I'm so damn proud. Hell yeah, I love this two-bar. Flash stopping in the wind 4x4s. Meet me at the corner of Matthews Liquor Store. Bag of Funyuns, couple of Mickeys. Drink it to the label before it even hits me. We've been too messed up to know we're drunk, but we've been raised up not to bite our tongue. From the land of handshakes, old school fist fights, two-bar town, two-tone pinstripe, Chevy square bodies, old school dirt bikes, swerving to the derby with only one headlight. Stevenson bar, drinking beer at the bullfight, sitting in the bleachers with Friday night lights. Rolling down that two-lane road. Turn the radio on. I'm hanging low out the window. Tom Petty on. I feel right at home. And I'm so damn proud. Hell yeah, I love this two-bar.
Oh, hell yeah. You're listening to Skyline Radio 96.1. Dragon in the afternoon. And yeah, let's talk about relaxing in the park. This is going to be a damn good time. And that song right there, people, that goes out to you, DJ Mays. Did an amazing job with the show. And it was a good show for us to bring Mini Persuasions back and show everybody we are very serious. We have been in this way too long, over 35 years. And this club is what got a lot of us in the auto industry.
Yep.
And there couldn't be a better show for us to get all together and make our announcement that we're fucking back. And we are damn back, you know. So yep, I'm gonna pop the top on this, and we got some shit to talk about. Oh yeah. So happy Monday to everybody. And I hope everybody got back from relaxing in the park all right. My phone blew up yesterday. I mean, it was unreal. And, you know, glad to see members come in from out of town. I mean, hell, the show's going on. We had our own fucking party going on next to the lake.
Oh, yeah, we had a perfect spot.
Oh, man, Taco got us the best spot. And everything worked out so well. I mean, there was so much shit to talk about with the show and everything. And, you know, me and Jimmy was meeting fans of the radio station and, you know, hanging out and just relaxing at the park, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, speaking of the show, Jason Nanny, the Florida chapter of Mini Persuasions, is on the phone. What's up, Jay?
Hey, how's it going back there?
Well, it's going.
No, I just seen, all the posts from Relaxing in the Park and another club member, Jason Barbaya, back in the day is running that deal, and excited to see what was going on. I seen Taco was there, an OG from back in the day, and after seeing the presence of Mini P there. What I want to do is I want to make sure that I could find a T-shirt down here and represent from Southwest Florida. I'm down here in Naples, and I wasn't an OG, but I was there in 93 through 96, but wanted to make sure that you had representation from way down here.
Yeah, and the thing is, next year, listeners, we are opening up the gate doors to open up chapters in other states, and it's already been decided that if you are a mini trucker and you're in Florida, Jason, which we call Putin Nanny, Jason will be the one that will be representing Florida for next year. So, you know, that's pretty much what our decision was at the show. Since we trust Jason, and you know, like I said in the post in the private group, which nobody got to see, you know, that was from the heart. You know, I mean, we had members showing up from all over the place. We know some members couldn't make it to the show. Some of them were working, or some of them live across the country. And, you know,
Right.
you messaged me, it's like, how do I get a shirt? Well, buddy, we're mailing you a shirt. We just need your address. But yeah, you know.
Well, like I said to you, it's like, you know, with being one of the older members, and hell, I've been gone since, I guess it was 1996, something like that. But living in Southwest Florida and believing in what you're doing, and you know, bringing it back to life. You know, I can't be part of the show situation anymore, but I've done it my whole life. And but I just want to represent and make sure that I can you know, do something from all the way down here in Naples, Florida, and know that the club is supported from as far as Southwest Florida you can get, other than the Florida Keys.
Well, we really appreciate it. What was you gonna say, Jimmy?
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, there was a lot of stories, just relaxing in the park. And I think, and from a business standpoint, because we're trying to run this as a business, but in the same sense, it's not a business. We're a nonprofit. We're a car club, okay?
Right.
But the thing is, for us to do other chapters, which was talked about and voted down back in the 90s, and now that we're back, there's got to be certain regulations of other states on how they're representing us, you know? So there was a lot of talk about how we're going to do that moving forward next year. Other shows, functions. Yeah, I haven't got to talk to you because you've been, your phone reception's real spotty down in Florida. So
exactly.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
in no.
But what I will tell you is you have to have some kind of dues. There's got to be club dues, and I don't mind paying the dues.
Well,
just to say
right now
that I'm part of it. You know.
Yeah. Well, the big thing is we don't want to do club dues. There's sponsors that pay for stuff. Like everything at Relaxin' was paid for. Stylin' paid for everything at Relaxin'. Paid for the shirts. I mean, need to know. Stephanie did the shirts. You know. You know, the logos, everything was paid for. Entry fees, everything was paid for by the club, but Stylin' sponsors the club, you know. So, you know, it's one of those things that I don't feel the members should pay membership dues. However, on the site, there will be, you know, like the taco shirt, you know what I'm saying? That stuff will be, you know, for sale that, you know, you fans can buy, but then there's going to be certain things that are kind of marked with red, and each member of the club has an identification number, and they type that in so they get that swag or whatever, or certain things will be club members only for like 2 years, and then we'll put that in general circulation, you know. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff figured out, and there was so many people, and Jimmy was sitting there, was like, how do I get in? How do I become a member?
Yeah.
And, you know, starting in July, our bylaws will go in effect. It will take you 90 days, but you have to be in Southern Illinois or Missouri to join the club. After that, we will be making an announcement in December on chapters out of state and what you have to do in the regulations to join a chapter out of state and who the representative of those states would be. Right now, the current, you know, in Florida would be Jason, and Jason doesn't have a lot of time, but as time occurs, if let's say David is doing Florida, don't think Jason's not going to oversee.
Right.
You know, and I know Jason's been talking to me about building another vehicle or doing something. And the thing is, there are so many OGs, you know, it's interesting because when we say OGs, within the club, there's OGs and then there's mid-school. So like me and Nanny are kind of mid school, you know what I'm saying? I know, Jimmy, you're new school because you knew about the club back in the day, but you lived all the way up in Springfield, Illinois, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
so you're kind of a new member, you know? So,
Right.
you know, there's certain things, you know, but I'm going to tell you something. When we lettered my truck up and I was driving it and I looked in the rearview mirror and could see that M, it was such a sobering feeling. It was like, wow, this is 1990s again.
You know what?
know?
It was a cool thing. It was a cool thing for me too, Isaac, because when I seen that and you said you were lettering the vehicles, it had been a long time since I seen a new vehicle on a window
Yeah.
or a jacket. And you know, and again, I'm from, you know, Granite City, Edwardsville area.
The east
And,
side of St. Louis.
Yeah, you know, and so when I started back in the mini trucking days in 1990, and what happened with me was I joined a local chapter, you know, called Innovative Minis, and you knew about it.
Oh yeah,
because
Innovated, yep.
It was in our hometown,
Yeah.
and that was a defector from Mini Persuasions.
Yes.
And so I joined that club, you know, as a 17-year-old kid trying to figure out what's going on. I wanted to be involved in car shows. And then eventually I found out he was a defector from Mini Persuasions and tried to start his own club in Illinois. And so I finally found them in Mini Trucking Magazine in the, well, I can't remember what you call it, but the directory.
Yeah, the
And
club directory for the U.S.
Yeah, and so the club directory out there, and I got a hold of it, and you know we've talked about the guy's name was Joe Ham.
Yep.
This was then it became 1991, and I joined the club, and I mean it's almost like you know going to college and being part of a fraternity. It's
Exactly.
It's a family, and you will never forget that stuff. And now that Isaac has reborn it 30 years later, I couldn't be more proud. I mean, I got pictures of my truck in Mini Truck Magazine and Car Audio and you know photo shoots at DeCoin back in the day. But I couldn't be more proud to have another Mini Persuasion shirt. And to say that, you know, I'll kind of, you know, govern or be whatever you guys ask me to be as part of that club. And, you know, I'm already thinking about what I'm doing. I got an XLR Cadillac. But now that you're restarting this whole thing, I'm looking at, you know, I'm looking at full-size SUVs. I'm looking at suicide doors again. I'm looking at tilt hoods again. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe what you're doing, Isaac, makes me bring back again. I'm probably not going to do the bag deal and the tilt bed anymore. But everything that I wanted to do back in the day that I couldn't do, the suicide doors or the Lambo doors now on a extended cab or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but it's still in my blood.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Kudos to you for bringing it back.
Well, no, and I appreciate that, but the bigger thing is I've had so many phone calls and it's like, you know, they either call me Izzy or Isaac and they're like, thank you so much. Well, no, not thank me. Thank Stephanie. Thank Joe Hams. Thank Carrie Timmons. Because we're the ones who sat there and said, we need to do this, you know? And, you know, Joe was our president. And I really looked up to Joe. And where me and Jason grew up, you know, once you graduated, you either got the hell out of town or you went to work for the steel mill or you become a piece of shit and went to jail. And I mean, it's the truth. I mean, we grew up on the east side, a suburb of the East St. Louis side. And and the thing is, Jason went to college, I went to college, but we come back, you know what I'm saying? And when I've told this story before on the radio, and I'm going to say it again because Jason is on the phone. Okay. I met Stephanie a few weeks prior to being asked to come to a car club meeting. I could have followed Jason over, but I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't want to get lost in St. Louis, okay? And Jason's like, I'll swing by your house, jump in the truck, and come with me. And he did the same thing with Kerry Timmons. And Jason was recruiting people because where we grew up, you know, my dad drag raced, okay? And everybody was either into drag racing, they weren't into mini trucks or lowriders like we were. So when Jason took me to the first Mini Persuasion car club meeting, it was like, there's so many people that are like-minded, and it's like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, but give me the big gulp, because these guys were into exactly what I was into. They were going to shows, they were hanging out, they were working on each other's vehicles, and it's a brotherhood and sisterhood. And the thing is, when I walked into the meeting, I looked over, and there was Stephanie. And so, you know, it's so crazy that this girl that I was flirting with a few weeks ago, and she's in this major club, you know, this, and this, you know. So late after the show, or after the meeting, Jason took me home. And then a couple days later, me and Stephanie started hanging out. And then the next week, I brought my truck, and then I got voted in. And I never will forget, and Joe Hams thinks this is the funniest thing in the world, because there was older members who forgot who I was, but they all remember this story. The night I got voted in, they asked me to step outside. And so I went to the door to open the door. You know, we're in this, like, sports bar.
That's what we did. You had to step outside, and you had to sit there and decide what your fate was. Well, we decided your fate on your behalf.
Exactly. And so when I got to the door, I kind of paused for a minute, and Joe goes, well, what do you guys think about Izzy joining the club? And immediately Stephanie goes, aye. And I heard him go, you cannot vote for the guy you're banging. And everybody started busting out laughing. And I walked outside, and then Stephanie, she come and got me. And I walked back in, and, you know, the hazing began. You know, well, we don't know if you got what it takes, and this, and this, and, you know, maybe you should get a few more mods, and this, and this. And then I was like, okay, well, whatever you want to do, man, I'm down, you know. And then everybody started laughing, and they're like, you're in. And it was such a cool feeling. And it's like, you know, and Jason, you have a hell of a story about getting voted in.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of a crazy deal, because
you were with another truck club.
Yeah, I was. So when I came over there, I had, you know, so Izzy and I were from Illinois, and joined a truck club called Innovative Minis, and the guy that ran that truck club, without saying names and everything to protect everybody, he was a defector from
Mini Persuasions. From Mini Persuasions,
And but they didn't have what I wanted. You know, they would meet at McDonald's every Friday night, and you know, being a local guy, I did that. And then, but I started to seek for something more, more of a brotherhood and more of a custom deal. And so I finally, like I said, we got onto the directory in Mini Truckin' Magazine, or Truckin' Magazine back in the day, and I found a connection point, and it was Joe Ham. So I sent him a letter, and he said, you can come meet us. At that point, they were meeting at a Hardee's in North St. Louis, and then went over there, had a couple meetings, and I had to do a couple cruises with them, and to show that I was interested in everything that they had to offer. And what I felt immediately was just a bond about people that were like-minded. Right. And you know, so after going through a couple of meetings, and I had to do a drive-by, and where they, you know, they stepped you outside, and it didn't change for 10 years. The whole time I was in the club, they made you step outside, do a drive-by, outside, come in and say, you're good. And then
You're
from,
right. I
you know,
forgot about the drive-by. Yeah, you're right.
You had
you had
to
to
do
pull your
drive-by.
you had to pull your vehicle up to the window, and they had to look at it. And then
You had to stop, and
You're
it
right.
started at Hardee's,
Mhm.
and then it went to another bar and grill in Northwest Plaza, and then eventually we went to Hooters at Westport, and but the greatest thing about growing up in a truck club or in a custom car club is you had like-minded people, and everybody helped one another when you went there. If one person's vehicle was down, you would help them clean it, or if something happened, you were part of a team. And it's almost like, when I went to college, I played soccer in college, but I was never part of a fraternity. But what I found with Mini P, it's almost like the fraternity that I never had collegiately, but as a young adult growing up, I found that,
yeah,
and I found that through the custom car industry. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing that you can replace with that. It's almost like being a Harley Davidson guy. If you run into trouble, you're gonna find someone's gonna help you on the side of the road.
yeah. And speaking of that, how many times have we come back from a show? There was somebody from another car club, okay,
Yeah,
broke down,
of
and
course.
we all pulled over to help them.
Yeah.
And they would do the same for us, And it didn't matter which club they were in. I remember a clear one coming back from a show, and the guy's fuel pump went out. And, there's another time after Mini Persuasions, a guy drug through his gas tank. We were going to Heatwave, and that's where I learned the soap trick, putting the soap on the gas tank where it was cracked, and it got the guy to the next stop, so. And why a car club member had a bar of soap with them is beyond me. I mean, but somebody had a bar of soap, and we were like, oh, okay, well, fuck, Irish Spring it up. So
It's tricks of the trade that you learn on different things, and but what I can tell you is at this point, I could not be more proud, Isaac, of what you're doing. I thought this thing was dead. I left the club in '96, and I mean, after that, I continued with custom vehicles. I traded vehicles all over the country, and then I went into working for Shower Promotions with Barry.
Yeah, with Barry.
I got into the Shower Promotions Hall of Fame 2002 after showing with them for 10 years.
And what's ironic, and I don't mean to interrupt you about Show World.
No, it's okay.
You went to do stuff with Show World. Then when Barry sold Show World to Frank, and he moved to Florida.
Yep.
And then you were done doing the Show World stuff. Then Frank Luigi bought it, and then I went to work for Frank doing announcing. So it's so weird that it's like you got into Mini P, and then you helped me get in. Then you worked for Show World, and then you left, and then I went to work for him. It's so weird.
Well, I think the unique part about that is I had shown for a long time.
Yes.
And then I got
You were a judge.
I got recruited to be a judge, and I was judging trucks, and I'm like, you know what? And I still had a truck, and I'm like, you know what? I can't really do this because I'm always judging a truck against mine, and I have to be impartial. So then I got rid of the truck, and so I got the Camaro. So I built the Camaro, and it was in World of Wheels and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you went all over doing stuff. I mean,
yeah, I was in ISCCA, World of Wheels, and it got. Even if I wasn't there, the car traveled. Right. And then, so what I did with Show World was, I was like, you know what, I'll get rid of the truck, I'll get a Camaro, and I'll just judge trucks based on on trucks, and I felt like I did a pretty good job. Sometimes you got friends and things, but listen, the vehicle speaks for itself.
Oh yeah.
You know what? You have to be neutral on that. And then, after showing my Camaro for a couple years, I got after dealing with 10 years with Show World, I got voted into the Hall of Fame 2002. Got a jacket, everything at the final show, which was down on Laclede's Landing. I can't remember what the name of the show was, but
that was the original Cobblestone show.
Cobblestone Nationals.
Yeah,
that was probably it.
Yeah, because they moved it from the Landing to Fastlane.
I guess so. After that point.
Yeah, Frank. Okay, go ahead.
And that's when I left. So because Frank had won that vehicle on a lottery draw, right?
Yes, the Civic.
Okay, and so then eventually he bought the business from Barry.
Yes, and then he hired me in to do all the announcing and judge. I did some judging, but I was mainly hired in to talk on the microphone, and he had went to Heatwave with me, and he took the BF Goodwrench giveaway car down there. And I was like, look, I'm going to be busy on the stage most of the weekend, this, and this. And he was in the process of buying Heatwave from Barry. And so since I was doing all the announcing, he was like, hey, I'm buying Show World. I would like you to be the announcer. And I said, well, depending on when your show is, I get these other shows I have to go to, and he always worked the shows so I would be there. And and Frank Luigi actually was in my wedding. He was a groomsman and very good guy. I hate to see him pass away, but he had a lot of health issues. But you know what? He was there to put on a show, and he lived out Barry's legacy very well.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Did he follow Barry's plan on how to do things?
Yes,
because he bought the camper and everything, right?
Yes, he bought everything.
But he also had I don't know what his condition was, but he had sunglasses. One was tinted, one was not right.
He used to drag race cars, and he lived in California, and they got new shag carpet in the house, like old school shag, that big shag. And he tripped over the dog and hit the corner of the coffee table, and that's how he lost his eye. And so once he lost his eye, he couldn't drive a drag car anymore. So he just worked in he's crew chief. He's worked as a crew, but then he moved to St. Louis because of his kids, and he was always into doing promotions, and he fell in love with Show World, and Barry wanted to retire. And when Frank got it, there was more shows added. He donated a lot of money.
Frank and Carol. Barry and Carol.
Yeah, Barry and Carol. Yeah, and it's great. It's an awesome thing to do. But
so that would explain why he had the one dark lens on his eyeglasses.
Yep. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So. Yeah, me and Frank, we spent a lot of time going to shows and stuff, and
he's a nice guy,
great guy. And the thing is, he was older than me, you know what I'm saying? But he knew my dad from drag racing from back in the day, but his drag racing was put behind. He was more interested in going to the shows. And then when I started doing Hot Import Nights, of course he's got the import, he wanted to go, you know what I'm saying? And we spent a lot of time going to shows, spending time in hotels and stuff. And a lot of times people on the road traveling. And of course, I was curious about his eye, how do you ask somebody that's got one eye, what happened? You know what I'm saying? And he goes, you want the long story or the short story? And I'm like, well, what's the long story? And he's like, Well, I'm gonna give you the short story. So my ex-wife got this fucking dog, and I tripped over it and hit one morning, and I was like, "Oh wow!" And he's like, they tried to do an eye implant, and it didn't take, and he's like, "There's no sense in going any further and damaging my body that I've got left," you know, and so, but yeah, we miss Frank a lot, and you know, I talked to Gina.
I'm sorry to see, sorry to hear these gone.
Yeah, I still talk to Gina, his daughter. So,
no, he was a good person in the, in the arena of what we did. But the fact of the matter is, the car that he won it through a lottery draw.
A drawing, yeah. And he bought one ticket, and he goes, "I never win anything." And he goes, "I just bought one ticket and whatever." And he goes, "Hell, I forgot about it because it was like a year and a half later they called me and said I won." And so, but on that note, guys, we're gonna go right back into the music. We got some commercials we gotta pay. We'll be right back. You're listening to 96.1 Styling, Dragging in the Afternoon, help me get through that damn workday. We'll be right back.